Hey there, spooky crew! And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Jacqueline, and this is Makeup Tales. Every Tuesday, while I narrate a spooky, scary story, I also complete a makeup look. If you guys love spooky content and love scary stories and are interested in makeup, I suggest you subscribe, like, and comment your favorite look. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss when I post a new video. Disclaimer. The following story is intended for a mature audience and may contain graphic depictions, death, gore, sexual themes, and adult language. Viewer discretion is advised. Today's story is by William Miller. The link to his Reddit will be down below. Also the link to his website, millerwiller.com. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's get started. Can you believe that every person eats an average of 8 spiders in their sleep each year? Knock, knock. Franz was laying on a shag carpet on the floor of his apartment, twisting the dark orange, dread-like fibers between his fingers and listening to a podcast about bugs. Normally, he would not show this much affection to his rug, but considering he was filled to the brim with MDMA and LSD, he was feeling a bit randy. The knock on his door interrupted his liaison with the carpet. Its faint, tepid tenor disturbed him. He fixed his gaze on the door. Franz quietly whispered to himself, "Maybe they'll go away." Knock, knock, knock. "Shit, okay," Franz mumbled. He wheezed as he stood up and paused the podcast playing from his phone. After he undid the deadbolt, but not the chain lock, his grossly dilated pupils peered through the crack in the door. "Hello?" Franz asked. Only the sound of plodding raindrops responded from the menacing void. Paranoia loomed large as his eyes darted from the empty pathway to the moths fluttering around the dull yellow porch light, then back to the leering darkness. Knock, scratch, knock, scratch, knock. This time, the pounding had a raspiness to it. It was like the sound of a dog pitifully pawing at a door, but there was no dog. His drug-addled mind led him back inside and onto his comfy lime green beanbag. He started deep breathing exercises and was soon relaxed by the idea the sounds were more than likely an auditory hallucination. He smiled and had a good laugh at his own expense. Knock, scratch, knock, scratch, knock. His eyes shot open, and he scrambled to his feet as his fight or flight response kicked in. Although he didn't know where to flee or who to fight. He frantically ran his hands over and over his balding head while pacing back and forth. His gaze returned to the door. What the fuck? Okay. Just think. Just click, knock, scratch, knock, scratch, knock, click. The faint clicking was overlaid with harsh clawing, like nails on concrete. Through the primordial combination of fear and drugs, he upended the apartment like an animal. Behind every door, cabinet, and picture frame, he triple-checked for his mysterious terrorizer, to no avail. He retrieved a stethoscope from a doctor-themed Halloween costume that he had worn last October. As if being unable to hear the knocking was a problem, and started listening intently to the walls. When there was a spot where he imagined the knocking was particularly loud or abrasive, he bashed it open with a claw hammer. An hour later, Franz sat on his beanbag, feeling defeated and surrounded by dusty white rubble from the drywall. Thankfully, there were no neighbors left in this building to disturb. Everyone else had temporarily moved out of the apartment building so they could spray for bugs. Franz had decided to stay in order to receive a $400 credit towards his next rent payment. The free money was nice, but more importantly, Franz had never seen a bug in his apartment. Not a single one since he moved in. He used to feel pretty lucky because of that. Knock, scratch, knock, scratch, knock, knock, scratch, knock, scratch, knock. As his body sank further into his beanbag, he felt increasingly unlucky. The search history on his phone included these: tinnitus, harsh scratching, tinnitus, knocking. Are there other forms of tinnitus besides a ringing sound? And tinnitus cure. He soon resigned himself once again to the belief that it had been an exceptionally caustic auditory hallucination. However, this resignation did not allow him to sleep peacefully. A handful of Ambien were laid out in the shape of a smiley face before he swallowed all 6, one by one. The sleep was long, steady, and uninterrupted, like death. Knock, scratch, squirm, knock, click, scratch, knock, scratch, knock, squirm, scratch, click, knock. His eyelids opened. The knocking was deafening. It had morphed into a slimy, dragging sound. Then his bed started moving underneath him, or more accurately, it started squirming. A writhing blanket of spiders, worms, cockroaches, millipedes, termites, cicadas, grasshoppers, and beetles slowly began engulfing him from below. It was as if they were waiting for him to wake up. He felt their little legs dragging, squirming, and clawing over every inch of his skin. The stomach-churning smell of crushed bugs filled his nostrils. He opened his mouth to scream, but a cockroach quickly fluttered in to fill the void. He spat it out and shot out of bed. The floor underneath his bare feet crunched as he looked down and saw that the floor of his apartment was also covered in an assortment of insects. His mind was too terrified to make sense of the situation, so he ran to the bathroom to clean himself. Click, knock, scratch. Squirm, knock, scratch. Click, knock, scratch, knock, squirm, scratch, knock. This time, there was no mistaking the source of the sounds. They were coming from inside of his own head. A sharp pain in his left ear caused him to wince. With the right side of his head turned towards the mirror, he examined the shaded ear canal. A small pair of antennae peeked from the hole before the rest of the cockroach scurried out. Instead of screams, a torrent of bugs streamed from his gaping mouth. His fingernails scraped against his scalp as he wallowed in helpless terror. One by one, his eyeballs popped out with a splat when they landed on a tangled ball of worms. Out of the 2 new holes in his head, more bugs flowed. Franz's body started to morph and shrink, as if he was deflating. The color of his skin turned to a sticky, jaundiced yellow. The bugs flowed like water, and Franz continued to collapse until he was nothing but a pile of hollowed skin. Several months later, when the landlord eventually came to evict Franz for not paying his rent, he was sick. The thick blanket of bugs had seemingly grown and multiplied into a wriggling waist-high sea. Bugs spilled onto the doorstep before the landlord slammed the door shut. It was never opened again. When the apartment building was condemned and burned, a few weeks later, the bugs scurried away to find a new home. Franz's skin suit, whose warped, pus-colored face was frozen with an aghast look, melted into a rotten puddle. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's story. I thought it seemed very fitting since spring is in full bloom. Everything's coming out, even those creepy crawlies. Remember, the link to William Miller's Reddit is down below. Also the link to his website, millerwiller.com. You'll also find in the description box all the links to my social media and my email if you guys have a story you would like me to narrate. Also, side note, it's end of the semester, finals are hitting hard. The solo narrations for Thursday and Saturday may not happen this week. Gotta get school done first. But I will see you guys next time, and remember to stay spooky and stay glamorous.